It was the most extravagant wedding the city had ever seen. The hall shimmered with gold chandeliers, crystal centerpieces, and a sea of elegantly dressed guests. Reporters stood outside the grand doors, waiting to capture a glimpse of the billionaire's new bride. Everyone knew his name, Ethan Blackwood, the cold, powerful CEO who had built his empire from nothing. But few knew about the woman who had once worked quietly in his mansion, the maid who had disappeared years ago without a word. The bride, Vanessa, glided down the aisle like a queen. She was stunning, confident, and perfectly aware of the cameras trained on her. Her designer gown glittered under the lights, and her smile was one of triumph. Today was her day, the day she would finally marry the man she had chased for years. As she passed each row, whispers followed. People spoke of her beauty, her charm, her success in capturing the most desired man in the city. Ethan stood at the altar, his expression unreadable. His dark suit fit him perfectly, his eyes scanning the crowd, but he seemed distant, almost cold. When Vanessa reached him and slipped her hand into his, he gave a polite nod. But there was no warmth in his gaze, no spark of love. The guests noticed, and though they whispered, they dared not speak aloud. After all, Ethan Blackwood was not a man anyone questioned. The ceremony began, and the priest's voice filled the hall. Everything was perfect, or so it seemed. But when Vanessa glanced across the crowd, her smile faltered for a split second. Standing quietly at the back, near the entrance, was a woman in a simple dress. Her hair was tied neatly, her face calm, almost too calm for the chaos around her. It was Lily. Years ago, Lily had worked as a maid in Ethan's mansion. She was kind, gentle, and always smiling despite her difficult life. But one night, she vanished without saying goodbye. Rumors had whispered that Ethan had dismissed her for reasons no one knew. Others said she had left heartbroken. Whatever the truth, her disappearance had been sudden and painful. Vanessa's lips curled slightly when she saw her. She leaned closer to Ethan and whispered, loud enough for a few guests to hear, "Look who decided to show up. Your little maid." Her tone dripped with mockery. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. When the vows began, Vanessa's pride grew. She spoke her promises loudly, her words echoing through the hall. But then, as Ethan began his vows, something strange happened. His voice faltered. His eyes drifted again to the back of the hall, to Lily, who stood silently, watching him. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Lily's eyes were full of pain and something else, something Ethan couldn't name. Regret washed over him. Memories flashed. Late nights in the study, her quiet laughter, the way she used to leave a cup of coffee by his desk when he worked too long. He had buried those moments deep, trying to forget. But seeing her now, he realized he never truly had. Vanessa noticed his distraction and clenched her bouquet tighter. Her smile turned brittle. She forced a laugh, trying to draw attention back to herself. "Darling, are you forgetting your lines?" she teased. The guests chuckled awkwardly. Ethan blinked and finished his vows, but his tone was distant, his words mechanical. After the ceremony, during the grand reception, Vanessa's jealousy began to burn. Every guest who spoke to Ethan mentioned his composure, his charm, but no one spoke of her. She needed to feel superior again. So when she saw Lily standing near the exit, she smiled coldly. "Perfect," Vanessa murmured to her friend. "Time for a little fun." Moments later, she walked over to Lily, her voice loud enough for others to hear. "Well, if it isn't the maid who used to clean up after us," she said sweetly. "You look surprisingly presentable for someone used to scrubbing floors." A few people nearby exchanged uneasy glances, but Vanessa didn't care. She was enjoying the attention. Lily lowered her gaze but didn't respond. Her silence only fueled Vanessa's cruelty. "Tell me," Vanessa continued, "did you come to beg for your old job back?" "Oh, I forgot, you were dismissed for being too close to the boss, weren't you?" The words hung heavy in the air. Ethan heard them. His face darkened as he turned sharply toward them. But before he could speak, something unexpected happened. From the entrance, a small voice cried out, "Mommy." The hall fell silent. Everyone turned. A little girl, no older than 5, came running down the aisle. Her curly hair bounced as she ran straight into Lily's arms. Gasps filled the room. Vanessa blinked in shock. "Mommy," she repeated, her voice trembling slightly. "You have a child." Lily knelt down, hugging the girl tightly. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered. But before she could say anything more, the little girl looked up at Ethan, her wide brown eyes sparkling. "Daddy," she shouted. The entire room froze. Vanessa's face went pale. Ethan stood rooted to the floor, his breath catching. The resemblance was undeniable, the same eyes, the same expression. Whispers spread through the guests like wildfire. Did she say, Daddy? One woman murmured. Ethan stepped forward slowly, his heart pounding. Lily, he said softly, almost afraid of the answer. Is she? Lily's lips trembled. For years she had kept the truth hidden, never wanting to disturb his life. But now, under the weight of so many eyes, there was no escape. Yes, she whispered. She's your daughter, Ethan. The words struck like thunder. Vanessa's bouquet slipped from her hand and hit the marble floor. Her perfect facade shattered in an instant. You had a child with her. She screamed. And you didn't even tell me. Ethan turned to her, his expression unreadable but cold. I didn't know, he said quietly. If I had, he trailed off, looking back at Lily and the child. Something inside him broke, the years of ambition, control, and emotional distance, all washed away by a single tear that slipped down his cheek. The guests could hardly breathe. No one moved. No one spoke. The weight of truth filled the air like smoke. Vanessa, furious and humiliated, pointed at Lily. This is ridiculous. She's lying. She's just trying to ruin my wedding. But Ethan ignored her. He knelt beside the little girl, his hands shaking. What's your name? He asked gently. The girl smiled shyly. Emma, she said. Mommy said my daddy was busy changing the world. Ethan's heart twisted. He reached out and touched her hair, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry, Emma. I should have been there. Lily looked down, tears glistening in her eyes. I tried to tell you once, she said softly. But your secretary turned me away. I didn't want to destroy your future, Ethan. Vanessa's rage boiled over. Enough, she shouted. You're ruining everything. She turned to Ethan. Tell them she's lying. Tell them she's just your servant. But Ethan stood, his tall frame towering over the chaos. His voice was calm, but it carried the power of finality. She was never just a servant, he said. She was the woman I loved before I let my ambition blind me. The crowd gasped again. Cameras flashed. Vanessa's lips quivered as she realized her perfect moment had crumbled. You can't be serious, she whispered. Ethan turned toward her, his expression cold and decisive. The wedding is over, he said. I can't marry you, Vanessa. She stared in disbelief. You're leaving me. For her. He looked back at Lily and Emma, his voice gentle but firm. For my family, he replied. Vanessa stormed out, her heels echoing through the marble hall. No one followed. The guests remained silent, unsure whether to applaud or leave. Ethan took Lily's hand, his voice trembling. I was a fool to let you go. But if you'll let me, I want to be part of your life, and hers. Lily hesitated, searching his eyes. She saw the sincerity there, the regret, the love that had never truly faded. Finally, she nodded. Then let's start over, she whispered. Emma giggled, hugging them both. The moment felt unreal, like time had stopped, giving them one last chance. The chandeliers sparkled above as if blessing their reunion. Outside, the reporters who had come to cover the wedding ended up capturing something far more powerful, a story not of wealth and vanity, but of truth, redemption, and love that refused to die. And as Ethan, Lily, and little Emma stepped into the sunlight together, the whispers faded into smiles. The billionaire who had everything finally realized what he had been missing all along, a family.